Hey, this is MassX with a brand new Jujutsu Kaisen Phantom Parade video, and we're going to go ahead and talk about, I just wanted to do another video on the characters at global launch. I just feel like there's a fair amount of misinformation out there, especially if you're looking at tier lists or paying attention to anybody that hasn't really played the game previously. Most of the tier lists you're going to find out there, of course, most of those characters are not going to be available at global launch. There's a very finite amount of characters that are going to be there. And as I've stated previously, there is not a lot of characters you really have to focus on early in this game. They've done a very good job about building a game that color advantage goes a long way. And there's lots of characters that will work, especially if you have color advantage. So what I wanted to do is go pull up probably one of the more popular tier lists out there and talk about some of the characters, as well as I pulled up an old tier list from about 9 months ago, which is more on target for what we want to be looking for as a new player into global. As I mentioned previously, there's a handful of people that have been playing this game since day one. There's some very good content creators out there. I only covered it here and there because I was playing it for myself, not for the channel. I would occasionally do big events like 6th anniversary and so, but there are some really good players that have consistently put out content since day one. And there's a lot that are currently jumping into the scene that haven't. So I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page to know what is really going to be available out there. Now, one of the more popular tier lists out there that I've seen pop up that people mention either on Reddit, Facebook, or in other videos is, of course, the Phantom Parade Wiki, which is where a lot of people go to. And it's actually a fairly accurate tier list. I do have my issues with it, but nothing of such a substantial amount. Like looking at the SS characters they list currently as that top tier, I would agree thoroughly on all those. I probably would not include anybody else in it, and I probably would take none of those out. But out of that list, only one of those characters is going to be available at global launch. And quite honestly, the remaining characters, 2 of them won't be ready for, if nothing changes, 6 months after launch. And then the other 2, Yuta and Purple Gojo, I want to say about the 2 to 3 month range, if I remember correctly. So yeah, so when you see this, these characters aren't going to be available, as well as if you look at the S tier, there's characters in there that are not even pull characters. There's ones that you can get free from collecting tickets from events. So yeah, a lot of these characters just aren't going to be around. But again, without a doubt, the push character for all people, okay, out of the gate is of course going to be this blue type Gojo. He is the primary DPS. If you can get, is who you are going to want. He's a beast. I know people will talk about, well, he only lasts 7 turns. Doesn't make a difference. Trust me, if you learn the game, learn how to debuff and buff, the 7 turns is not a big deal. He is just pure DPS early in the game and will push the content for you. But again, nobody else on that SS tier list is going to be available at launch, okay? And properly so, it would only be that blue Gojo as SS tier character. Nobody else is SS tier character, at least in my opinion, on day one. Now this list off Reddit is a little bit more closer to what you're going to see at global launch. Early game, it's pretty much what I've talked about previously, where there's really, if you can get these 4 characters, 5 characters, you're going to be in a very good spot to push content early and quick. And those 5 characters at the top are what I've talked about previously in other videos. Those are who you'll be striving for. And the biggie, of course, besides Gojo, and who I'd put in that second slot of wanting to get, of course, is Nobara. this yellow Nobara will do solid damage. And you're probably seeing something here. Yes, this when I showed you those characters, they almost all were different colors. Why? Well, color advantage goes a long way, but early game, you're just not going to have the resources to build up a full red team, a full yellow team. So you want, though, so you know when you're playing different areas that you have at least one of the dominant colors, and hopefully a character that is upper tier early game so you can push through it. And Nobara is just, again, it's 1-2 slot early game from day one. Gojo, Nobara, period. And again, you don't have to have all SSRs to be effective in this game. There are a lot of good SRs, and of course the Red Yaga is one of those characters. Awesome support character, does the dirty work, okay? And what you're going to need. Simply looking at skill 2, just a point of it, increases all allies taijutsu damage. Boom. You know? Increase all allies jujutsu damage. You know, you're going to need these support characters for this game, and you're going to need ones that are effective and going to work well. So this is another highly sought after character early game to get that team going. And hand in hand with what I just said is Nanami. Another red type character, but Nanami can just do another awesome support character. And just looking at the kit, you'll be able to see, you know, his skill 2 increases his own damage, increases all allies damage, period. I mean, that's the type of stuff you want to see from your support, okay? Boosting up your main DPS. And he really is another super strong unit early game. One that they don't have as high on their tier list, but I think is an incredibly valuable character early game, is Momo, okay? Green type character, looking at the skills, okay? Let's go to skill 2. Increase all allies damage, grants evasion status to self so she can help keep herself alive, stuns all enemies, grants evasion status to self. Just an all-around really good support unit. The stun, the evasion to keep her alive, the increase, that blanket damage increase, just makes her really, really good. And you've got on the skill 1, deals 100% range to jutsu damage to the selected enemy, and she does pretty good damage. And of course, you can even look to rares if you need to. And Unamaki rare, the red type one, is one of those that you can use early game effectively, okay? You've got the skill 2 that decreases all allies damage received by 25%, fills all allies ultimate skill gauge by 124, sacrifices 12% of its HP. That alone makes it very valuable, especially early game when you're trying to get those ultimate skills off quickly, especially your Gojo. You're hoping that maybe you can pull it off twice before turn 7 and have the game over with that you're playing at that moment. So that's why a character like this can be incredibly useful. Out of the tanks that are going to be available day 1, really none of them are, except for the green panda, and he's really just he's fine. Again, if you pull for him and you want to use a tank, go for it, but again, not one that you'll be looking out for, especially the SSR. Similarly to who I was just speaking about, also there is going to be an SSR Yuji that's available, the green focused one. He's fine, okay, but again, unless you just happen to draw him, this is not a character you're going to be going after. You're really going to want to focus on only the 2 SSRs I spoke about before, those SRs, and then you'll be ready to really push the content. And then, marrying on what type of player you are, you're going to want to decide how you're going to want to proceed in the game. Because the important thing that's going to happen is all you really want to get is your set team to push the content. Yes, if you want to collect, but I'm talking to like free to play players and players that don't want to spend much. Get that core team, because that's all you're going to need, okay, to start off with. Save your resources. It's going to be key, because honestly, until Yuta comes out or Purple Gojo, you don't really have to go crazy on any banners. And some of the best characters are, well, not some, they are the best characters, come from 6th anniversary. They're going to put to shame so many other characters in the game. So yeah, you know, if you want to spend and collect everything, that's fine. That's your prerogative. But I'm just talking about for purposes of pushing content and gameplay. And again, as a reminder, do not hyper focus on the memories right now, okay? There's no need. If you watched my video on the gacha system and polling, you probably realized from watching it very quickly that memories drop better than characters. You will build up a stash of memories fairly quickly, and you usually get free memories from the events. So it should not be a focus. Now again, if you're lucky enough to pull, you know, some of the better memories early on, then great. And I talked about those in a previous video. But again, it should not be your focus early game. Your focus should be on your main team and characters themselves. Memories will build themselves very quickly if you play this game daily. But that's really it. I just wanted to just make sure and reaffirm out there what characters you need to be looking for, because a lot of these tier lists are right now we're almost at a year in the game, about ready to hit anniversary. So most of these characters are not going to be available day one. There's only going to be a handful of them. And the ones that you really need to focus on are the ones I've talked about, starting first and foremost with that Gojo. Do not worry at all about the 7-turn limit. You will be just fine, and trust me, you will be in so much more hurt if you don't pull that character. So, all right, well, I'm going to have some more videos, of course, as usual, on this game. In the background, as I've been playing, it's been one of the new events that came out, just kind of showing you how, and this is one of those memory events. This is one that's specific, where there's been 4 parts to it, and there's been a different memory on each part. So, like, reaffirm what I said before, don't worry about memories day one. Worry about characters, getting yourself that team that is going to make your life easy for the push early on, because then everything else is going to fall into place really quickly after that. So, with that, as always, like and subscribe. It helps a lot. Have a great day.